America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Yes, nice. John, with me. Listeners, Eric and Andrew, and Carl, and Joey. Just here, Joey? Just here. Carl.
I got a couple questions.
Okay.
I was wondering how far you got with your legal counsel.
You want you?
So we've heard back, and legal counsel said ultimately the town has an obligation to keep the streets safe. And state statute 23 VSA section 1759 states, whenever a motor vehicle is parked on the highways of the town, contrary to any ordinance of the town regulating parking so as to interfere with the policing, construction, or maintenance of the highways, including the removal of snow, the police department of the town may cause the motor vehicle to be towed at the expense of the owner. So, the attorney says this, even though our town parking ban winter parking ban wasn't followed to the letter of law, this provides that ultimately the state statute gives us the authority to, or trumps our local ordinance.
I don't agree with that, Wally.
Well, you asked for us to, we're
So, with your theory, anytime you have an ordinance, if the select board doesn't agree with it, you can just change it around or do
No,
whatever.
this is according to the state ordinance, or the
Yeah.
state statute.
we are in the process of you brought valid points that our winter parking ban, our town parking ban is outdated, needs updating. We're gonna do that. But we're still gonna continue with our parking ban because state statute says we have an obligation as a town to keep the streets safe, which includes winter parking.
So I think that's neglect on the select board's fault, not keeping your ordinances up to date and hiring a towing company without even looking at your ordinance. I think that's a cop-out. It's not over. I'm not.
Okay, you're entitled to your
If I
opinion.
get on the board, the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna call the lawyer myself. Because Eric, you wrote the ordinance, am I right?
You're right, I wrote it. The original
Alright.
one,
What I'm
Which
saying,
version did you write?
the original
the
one,
one,
2002.
Okay.
It was changed,
I mean, it looks like it's been.
board member since.
Yeah.
Which, did you do the winter parking one or the entire thing?
I did the original winter parking one in 2002.
Okay.
Wally, so there's more here than just a towing thing. It's different hours, you're not consistent with the hours. One part says 11 to 8 in the morning, but you guys only enforce 2 to 6 in the morning. It's like a cop job.
And that's what we are going, that's why we are revisiting it. This was bits and pieces were done over time. I believe some parts of it were done to accommodate when we had bars in town, that was a consideration.
Well, we still have the same businesses there.
But we don't have the bars necessarily. I
We
mean,
got the
so,
Thirsty Burger, we got the
But-
Crossing, we got the Legion.
but see, originally, everything else was a tighter time window. And we left those street areas where the streets, where the bars were, they got a longer window.
You guys didn't know any of this when you hired a towing company. This all came up after the towing.
Yeah, and we appreciate you for bringing it to our
So
attention.
the
And we
people
are
that
working
got
on it.
towed that weren't properly warned in the newspaper like the ordinance says are the ones that paid. If the board really says that you made a mistake, you should compensate those people for getting towed.
Again, our town attorney says,
Well, you guys tried 2 times to get a town charter change. Your lawyer gave you bad information 2 times. When the other guy was on the board, and just a couple months ago. I think that's fine. It's not going away, Wally, it's not.
that's fine, Carl. You can explore this all you want. And we will continue to do what we're gonna do, what we said we're gonna do. We are gonna rewrite the town ordinance.
That's
for
fine,
winter.
Wally, it needs rewrite.
Well, and what more do you want us to do at this point?
Because you told the people, based on your ordinance, you didn't know anything about supposedly the other thing that the lawyer told you about. So that's just
What
Second guess.
what other thing?
the state statute thing, if
No.
that really applies.
And we saw it when you brought to our attention that things were not in compliance. We reached out to see if we were totally out of whack with what was required of us as a town. So we can't say any more than what we said, Carl. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. We are going to work on.
That's fine, Will. It's not gonna go away. You guys are just taking the easy way out. Just,
That, I'm sorry you feel
we
that
can
way.
end it, it's done, Wally, but I'm not letting it go. Because the board, you totally ignored everything. You didn't put it in the paper, you didn't do anything that it says. You didn't even, did you give me a list of people that were told?
We have not. We are still in the process, but we are still also seeking clarity as to whether that is still something that we need to provide.
It's in your ordinance.
Yes.
Somebody commits murder and it's in the paper the next day, all the details and everything. A little park in towing in Richford so you can contact the people.
Again, it's not clear based on what our understanding is, there was more of when we were the ones holding all the responsibility as a town, but we've now contracted somebody else. And those, like, my understanding, and this is strictly
It's
my,
just going around and around in a circle, Wally.
I'm not trying to cop it out here.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm trying to tell you that we don't have the liability. We're not, there was more for when we had the liability of any damage done and stuff. Now that we have a towing company with insurance, that liability falls with them. So we're not entirely sure that we have to
So
disclose.
what has
something.
insurance got to do with it? You guys erred by hiring this people, the towing company, without looking at your policy on December 19th. You didn't even look at your policy. No clue whatsoever what you were towing. You just thought you were right. When it would show that you were wrong, now you're just going around
What
it.
Wally's saying is that we're not wrong, that we have the state's protection under their ordinance.
Listen,
under their statute.
Yeah.
But last year we had TDI, the year before that we had Rick Mason, we had TDI the year before that.
but you
But
never
nothing-
posted it in the
Right, but
paper,
nobody
Sharon.
ever had an issue with any of
Yes,
the
sir.
above.
I had an issue. I brought it to Scott Coons. I brought it to Linda Collins 3 or 4 or 5 times.
Did you
I
come
brought
here
it
to the select board meeting though? Because I
I
don't
don't
remember
remember if I
anybody
did.
having an issue of that.
I've
The
had an
5
issue with
years-
it for a long time.
Right, but for 5 years I've been on here, this is the first year that we finally got a towing company that's actually towing and doing
So
what
in
we've
your
asked them
5 years,
to.
sure, did you ever post the ordinance in the paper?
Linda Collins has always posted.
No, she didn't. That hasn't been posted in the paper for at least 10 or 15 years.
No, you're absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
I paid bills, I
Yeah.
paid the messenger to put
Okay,
those
well,
things
I'll
in
go to the
paper.
county courier and I'll see if they got an archive.
Okay.
The
And
messenger.
I think we beat this one to death enough.
You have
Before,
questions on a different topic?
What was that?
Well, before
Nope.
we get off the winter parking ban, I wanted to bring up an email that Andy forwarded to me.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
This pertains, yes.
This
Yes.
pertains to the parking. It was from Linda Collins. She
Mhm.
wanted to read this off. She said, "Was just watching the last meeting and my name was thrown out when the discussion centered on a winter parking ban. This needs to be read at your next meeting. I always posted the winter parking ban in the Courier every year. This is a big problem every year because we only enforce it every now and then and not regularly. We even had our lives threatened at one meeting because a car was towed. Gary Snyder was the town clerk. In the future, if you have any questions, please ask me before my name is tossed out as if I have done something wrong. Thanks. Whoever is in charge of the roads should be responsible for towing and warnings. Linda."
Can I comment on that? Linda's name was only mentioned because of
Right,
Yeah.
it wasn't in a bad
the-
way, it was in a good way.
no, it was.
She always
because-
posted it in the newspaper.
No, that's not what it was. It was because Linda, you said Linda had a copy of the winter maintenance agreement. There was a copy in the file, but it wasn't signed. And you said Linda Collins has the signed copy.
And she's the one that took it from the meeting, she was chair back then. And she didn't do nothing wrong, it was probably in in the desk in a file. It probably should've gone over to
I
Kyle.
like that. Another thing, Andy, you can ask your father to verify this. Richford Selectboard has never posted the thing that I brought in for years. They posted one saying Rick Mason was in charge of the towing, Rick Mason's phone number, and you pay Rick Mason. That's what the board used to post it. You haven't posted the ordinance that Eric wrote that I brought in for years. Am I right, Eric?
It has modified over the years on different select boards.
Yeah.
Whether or not, I can't talk to whether or not it was posted or not, I wouldn't have a clue. I just know enough to keep my car off the road come December 1st.
Okay.
I'm not saying we don't need a tone thing. You need to do it right. It's like the select board's up here and the taxpayers are down here.
No, not at all. I'm a
Yes, it is.
taxpayer here. And I come in here and talk
Watch the
about what
video.
everybody comes
You
to
can
me
s-
talk to.
Watch the video, you can pretty clearly see it.
Okay. All right, this time we'll move on. Eric and Andrew.
Okay, this is a plea for all you guys. We are planning to have a couple district advisors come in and present a class for our select board, our justices, our town clerk, and us who want to review it again. We are going to conclude our townwide reappraisal in July. The books for the townwide reappraisal will go out May 15th. In that booklet, like they were 17 years ago, will be what you used to be appraised at, what you're appraised at today, and your process for grievance. What this team wants to do is between the process for grievance and the book going out, allowing people to call in or come in if they feel something's really out of whack and discuss it with these appraisers. And maybe they work it out before it goes to a formal grievance process. But over time, we have the Board of Abatement, we have the Board of Appeals. You act as a quasi-judicial board on different commissions. It's very important that you know this process and have it right. 1,500 people could decide to appraise their property valuations. And you need to know where you stand and what your duties, responsibilities are.
Can you say again who you plan to have come?
District advisors from the Department of Property Valuation and Review. They're under the tax department, state of Vermont, they work in the state of Vermont. As listers, we're kind of quasi members of them also. Our district advisors are where we go when something doesn't exactly fit or pigeon in with the statutes. So we'd like to set up a meeting and know that you'll make an effort to attend. There are classes coming out which you could go to and attend, but that would take you away from business and take you away from your responsibilities, etc. So if we can arrange something here for everyone.
That'd be great.
So, how long do you think? Is this an all-day event?
Oh, no, this is like a 4-hour class.
4-hour class.
If
Do you
that.
have dates in mind?
No.
Okay.
I just wanna know that this is coming.
Okay, thank you.
And our district advisor is working, we're thinking of a particular advisor who has been with the state for almost 30 years and can probably cite it to you without looking at a page. That is very, very
Excellent.
in-depth with
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
We just don't want to create a lot of unnecessary hassle if we have a lot of people grieve their assessment.
Okay.
And they have a right to. And we actually encourage people to, because our process started in COVID. And it was a time when our assessors were in masks and they wouldn't go in. And then there was this area where they would go in. So there's a possibility of inequity if they did some inside properties and not others. So it's
You were saying.
a good opportunity, and we want to get everybody on the same page.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
That was number one. Number two. In May of '22, we had a lot of property change hands on Green Avenue, handled by 2 different lawyers for 2 different clients. And in the process, some of the transactions came into town hall for recording before they were actually transacted. Meaning that the seller transferred property he did not yet own. And in the bailiwick to try to straighten that out, he transferred somebody else's property that wasn't even involved. And then as time went along, a third party got involved, we're gonna transfer some more property. And all that time, the moment we said, wait a minute, these deeds are wrong, we refused to process the PTTR, which is a property transfer tax report. So a deed gets brought into town hall and recorded in the vault, a transaction has occurred. However, the tax portion of it in the tax department is still sitting on our desk from May of last year. We've reached out to the two lawyers and we've given them 25 days, the letters have already gone out, to get us corrected deeds. They should be willing to do so, but there's always a possibility they won't do without getting paid. So if they don't get back to us, we'll reach out to the people who shouldn't have made the transfers, buyers, and the two parties that were affected by the fact that their property looks on the books like it doesn't belong to them anymore. That's not a situation anybody wants to find themselves in. But we had to take a couple long days in here, multiple, to work through the actual order and get it out on paper and get it out to the lawyers. One of the attorneys merged with another attorney and they split their in-house real estate into someone else. So I reached that person and she was like, she didn't know what was happening. So we went to our state DA. This is one of these times when you go to a DA. So we just want you to know that if somewhere in the next few months you get some grief from residents of Green Avenue, this is why.
But there's no issues with the town, that's not a town issue. The town did what it was supposed to do, it recorded the docs when they came in. This is an attorney issue.
I never said it wasn't.
Right, it's just if somebody comes up to us and complains, we at least know about it.
It's a town issue from a perspective of a lister. I will not process a PTTR
Right,
if it's someone else's property.
right.
So we stood on it and this is the process we're
And
taking.
this is usually something that have you seen this before in the past?
No,
Okay. So you don't know if it's something that will resolve itself easily?
it won't resolve itself.
No, I know it won't resolve itself, but it'll has the potential to be taken care of quickly and easily.
Yes.
Or it could go the other way.
Well, it won't go too far the other way. It won't take long. We've spelled it all out as to why they shouldn't have sold a lot 3 on some other subdivision as opposed to a lot 3 on a different subdivision. We spelled it out for them. If they can't take that and the deeds that they've created, see these things. I mean, you lead a horse to water. Okay, so we've given them to February 21st, 24, because as of April 1st, if it isn't straightened out, those properties will have to be billed as to the previous owners.
You said 24 or 23?
February 24.
They're giving another year to resolve?
No, February 24.
February
24.
24, okay.
Not
okay.
23.
Okay.
Now, if I move to something else, could anyone tell me what the policy is on jury duty? Does the town pay their employees when?
I don't have a copy of our personnel policy with me. I think there's something in the personnel policy.
I sort of seem to remember it, but I don't know if it was yay or nay. Yes. I report tomorrow.
Personnel policies, if you know where it might be. I know most businesses have to.
No, they don't have to.
Don't, no, I never goes
No,
paid,
no.
actually they get paid and, yeah. The courts pay you, no,
No, not anymore.
they don't pay you anymore? What
Unless
happened to
this
that? I was
is-
on it years ago.
I was 2 years ago, and at the first week I went on, I was paid. The next week I wasn't.
Well, that's not cool.
In some instances, they'll pay mileage.
Yep.
Jury leave.
Yeah.
Section 26 of our personnel policy says, the town will compensate employees for their service as jurors or witnesses In accordance with 24 VSA Section 499, employees will otherwise be considered in the service of the town for purposes of determining benefits, credits toward vacation, sick leave, other rights, privileges, and benefits of employment.
That sounds good. I didn't write that one. And my last item, which some of you will remember and some of you will not. 2 years ago, I started working on putting pavers in my driveway. Back in 2007, the driveway easement was signed between the town of Richford and ourselves. We don't own the land on which our driveway sits, but we have a permanent easement for a driveway and pavers or payment. A couple of years back, John wanted me to fill out a permit. So we filled out a permit, we brought it in here, we gave it to the then select board. Nothing was ever said. When I asked about it, it was like, everything will be all right, don't worry about it. This past fall, John asked me to do that again because there's no record of it. We complied, we filled out another one. We gave it to Michael, Michael gave it to Andy, I think it got signed.
Yeah, I remember something.
Mr. Libby wants to know who's gonna pay for it. Well, if it's town land with a town permit that needs to be recorded as a town doesn't pay for its own permits.
Makes sense to me.
I didn't apply for a permit because I had an easement saying I could have a driveway. The people who lived there before me parked their Cadillac on what was lawn then, and the people before them parked there on the lawn and the sidewalk, or and the sidewalk belongs to the town as well. So I purposely did not apply for a permit because I felt I had an easement saying I could do this. And I remember Scott Coon saying I didn't need a driveway permit, I already had one. So, what say you? If you say you don't wanna pay it, then I will, but
How does everyone feel about that? It's a town property, right?
It's town property, it's an easement through our property,
That's,
we shouldn't have to pay to.
Wally,
I agree.
okay.
I agree.
Alan,
I agree.
we all agree?
all right, thank you. Then, that brought up another thought in my tiny little brain. Is what? More than 20 pieces of property in town that isn't doing a lot that belongs to the town.
It's on the agenda.
Mine being one. In my case, I have a written easement, because I believe in legal standings. But that strip of land is all of 11 feet wide and 131 feet long. It's an easement not only for my driveway, but for my electric co-op has an overhead in the same place. So it's not valuable, a lot of valuable land, but I'm wondering if the board, if I pay for the attorney, even if it's my own attorney, taking our easement and turning it around, so the town has the necessary easement to maintain their building. And even if you wanna bring it back a couple feet, because right now it's 11 feet from our wall, so it makes it about 1 foot from the firehouse. If you wanna bring it back a foot or so, just for the sake of if you had to dig, I wouldn't have a problem with that either, but I'm suggesting that it gets transferred to me. And I would suggest that any properties in town that have adjoining property owners, that they're approached and asked if they'd like to go through the same thing for their investment. We have a property on Home Street that the person's shed sits on town property. That one's handled by our tax system. The person who owns the shed is actually sent a tax bill for 12 by 14 square feet of land and her shed. We have a person on Willow Street who, I don't know if they still do, but entered into a $1 a year agreement or something for a place to put vehicles in the winter because when they relined 105, all of a sudden we lost parking spaces and this person didn't have a place to put their vehicles when they were in service again. There's another one on Willow Street in the area that was known as the recreational area that was going to be a park, and it didn't become a park, but that person has more than encroached, even when they bought their house, the existing shed that was there, was sitting on town land, but now they and all their equipment has encroached further onto town land. The land is serving no purpose at the moment, other than we're not gaining any tax dollars for it. And that brings me back to the reassessment. We're not sure how it's all gonna come out, but anything under 100 square feet, building-wise, sheds, porches under 24 square feet, there's a lot of little, a few dollars here, a few dollars there, but they're gonna fall right off. We're not doing it anymore. We're going by national standards, and they've changed a lot. So we're not sure if we may break even, we might go up, we might go down in total value assessment. So it might behoove the town to actually try to unload some of its land or sell it. I mean, in the point where you have a lot, like the house that the town acquired on Center Street, that's something that you might want to outright sell. And if you were going to outright sell it, you would have to publish it and go through the process of beating the whole thing. But my piece, these pieces I've mentioned, they're known as sideline adjustments. They don't go through that same process.
But then you would be taxed on that little extra piece of land.
Right,
So the town would be getting more revenue from taxes off of it versus nothing at all.
right.
And it's already being used, it's just not
It's being
taxed.
used above and on the ground.
Yeah.
So what is, that, so that was why I was glad you were here, because town properties, what is, you, as a lister, and I think you know, former select board member, what is the process for selling town acquired property, town property?
Town property. If you're gonna sell it outright, we're not talking sideline adjustments now, but
Yes,
if you're gonna
outright,
sell a property outright, like everything else, it has to be published, and all these different publishings are, some are 15 days, some are 14, some are 20. But same process, you need to publish, and then you wait the amount of time for, to hear from the public and whether they wanna be involved in the process. Some of them, I don't know if this is true with land, might have to be published a second time, like they do when we do a change in statute or change in charter or zoning bylaws. All that stuff has to go through 2 cycles. But I think land is 1 cycle, and so it gets published that the town is going to sell a piece of land. In some cases, a person may even say they have a buyer in mind. That's where the challenge may come. Someone else may come up and say, but I want in on that process. After all, it is public land, it belongs to everybody.
Yeah.
So there's the process of
I mean, and
giving people time to,
then it doesn't become like a public, is it like a public sale, or can we, you know, after we do the, can it go through a realtor? I mean, what, like,
it could.
I mean,
I think it depends how the town got the property. If you took it on a tax sale,
Tax sale's entirely different.
it's all different. Not all the land is sold equal, it's gotta be different.
yeah, that's
Like
what
if you have the house on Center Street, you can't sell that to make a profit.
No.
If you make a profit, it goes back to the Walker family.
Yeah,
If you sell the lot on the corner of Willow Street and Troy Street, over a profit, that goes back to the Gibneys, because that was gotten from the Gibney tax sale. A lot of the Richford property is tax sale property.
it depends on if there was someone in between. If there was a buyer after the tax sale, it takes the tax sale out of it.
Well, if the town bought it at the tax sale.
No, after that. The town buys it at tax sale,
Right.
it's the town's. But then if the town sold it to someone and that person resold it,
but it-
Well, they can make a profit,
yeah.
but the town can't, and it's
Right.
that way because the state wants to discourage towns from buying property at tax sales, so you don't have these issues. Even though the town's owned the Gibney property for 40 years. I remember when they tore the building down.
So if we bought that
I
building
guess-
for 5,000, sold it for 7,000, the 2,000 would have to go back.
Well, no, you are entitled to the expenses of what goes on.
Right.
Okay.
But cleaning it out,
Yeah.
all that stuff,
Okay.
but you can't sell it, get it for
Right.
5,000 and sell it for
Right.
50.
You
So,
can't have a net.
so any monies associated with cleaning, fixing,
That's all allowable.
that's recoupable.
Yes.
But you have to put it for bids, a tax sale permit.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm trying to get clarity.
Yeah.
And then,
Because Richford's done it without putting it for bids.
yeah, I know that's part of, we've gotten in trouble in the past for that.
Right.
So, and there's any consideration for how long you held the property, or is it
That's
strict?
the town's fault.
So they, like, so, you know, like, there's been expenses incurred over, whatever, 15 years, or,
Well,
or lost tax
Lost-
revenue.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Lost
lost
tax
tax.
revenue doesn't.
But I think that would be questionable because the town chose to keep it that way.
Well, yeah, I'm just asking general questions, because I don't know.
I mean, something like that would have to be avoided.
Yeah, town, taxes, water, sewer, are usually what lead to tax sales. But then there's a process thereafter. If the town buys a property and it's horrendous and it costs them $30,000 to clean it up and it was only worth $10,000 to begin with, $40,000 gross. I mean, you're allowed to meet the expenses necessary to improve the lot or improve the property back to where it was. So there may not be a whole lot of profit, and then it does come, it goes out to.
It comes back in tax revenue.
For sure.
Give your pen.
What do you need?
Mine died.
I have another one too. Oh, that's interesting. I guess we got some research to do.
Yeah, because town of Fairfax, I think, got sued, their select board got sued because the property they took at tax sale, they sold it at the town actually sued the select board because the people felt they didn't sell it for enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well, I guess we're gonna really research.
yeah.
Well, in selling town property, it's really
Crazy.
crazy.
people
Yeah.
don't do it.
No.
And that's why the town still has them.
That's
Probably.
It is, because where the priest block used to be, they buried most of the building right there. So that's a disaster. Plus the water line goes right through there.
Yeah.
So,
Water lines way out back.
right, but it still goes through that 4-acre piece.
You know,
Well, that's interesting. So I guess, yeah, we'll have some more discussion.
Yeah,
the water line up front.
okay,
but
so we
the
kind of
sewer
discussed
line
that, but.
Yeah.
goes through.
But the water, there is the water. line through there.
John, you're the next visitor. You got it, that was it.
That was it.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
I believe Kylie sent you messages that
Yes,
we have sort of reached a settlement with Leah Fritsch.
yes.
And we want to know, can I sign on behalf of the town? I think the Martins, who are part of that, and Leah has agreed to sign this settlement.
What is normal practice in something of this nature?
I don't know.
Do you know, Alan?
I haven't seen any settlement.
I haven't seen the setup. I saw an email that they were
They're willing to.
Were willing to.
Willing, but
I haven't
Yes,
seen
well,
the
I
actual
haven't
setup.
seen anything, yeah.
I don't think we should be looking at signing anything until we get,
I think we want to hear
More
back from our
information.
lawyer
Yeah.
and then get some clarification on what we're settling on.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I have it right here. And I thought, Michael, did you have copies to get the board?
I can get them. Go ahead.
Yeah, can you get those?
Yes, please.
Because this morning, when I first heard from the attorney, they had proposed a settlement, but as I read it over, there was nothing in it about all the trash that she has. And the lawyer said somehow that got missed and they added it back in. And she's gonna pay a settlement to a town, or agreement to, and with paying $5,000 down, and at the time of settlement, and the rest of it will be lien on her property. For a good sum,
And that's spelled out? in the
yes.
stuff.
Nice.
Thanks, Eric.
Do you have anything else before I run out the door open?
No.
Okay.
Thanks, Eric.
But
Thanks, guys.
beyond speed dial. Story of my life.
Thank
Maybe
you.
you wanna look at this copy?
I think last summer, I mean, go back to the town property thing for a minute while we're waiting. I did look at a lot of town properties and like some of them are so small.
Yeah.
Like, how did we ever even like acquire them relative to, you know, some of them, like you said, are not on the side. Like, I'd love to know the history of how we acquired a basically.
11 foot by 100.
or so, like there's one I think up here in the back that looks like it's no bigger than a garage. You know, it looks like it's like somebody's driveway, like a second driveway or something size.
Is that old right old school?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like it's really tiny. Like, I'd like to know the history how the town acquired such a small little snippet out of the whole thing.
So was the suggestion to offer those spots for a sideline adjustment to happen?
If they're
for
so small
each-
where no one could ever build or do anything else, I'm
So
assuming.
basically, you deed them the property just with the thought of getting the additional tax revenue.
Yes. But it'd have to be something that wasn't buildable, I'm assuming.
Well, and from what?
Your tax revenue is gonna be very, very small.
Oh yeah, very.
Very small.
$10.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
it's not gonna be, you're not, but,
But I think there's only a handful of those properties too,
yeah, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
there's,
not very many.
Any more on the one that's up by the farm, up on the not Gilman Road. Heading up towards the golf course. That farm, there's a piece of land we own that goes like down the
Oh,
bank
on
to
the
the river.
Cordless Road,
Yes,
yeah.
The 15 acres.
yeah, something like
15 or
that.
20.
That was donated to the town by the surveyor guy. Because the Green Shield development, they never paid the surveyor, so he took the 15 acres of land. There's no access to it, you have to go through the river.
Yeah,
Or you have to
or
get-
through the farmland, right? There's a farm up there.
No, there's no access to it.
And that's the problem, you can't sell landlocked land in Vermont anymore.
Right.
And he actually, you might wanna check into that, because he might have put some stipulations on it. Because he didn't want one of the neighbors buying it, because he didn't get one. And the neighbor thought he was gonna get it cheap because it was landlocked.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's a story behind it.
There's a story behind everything.
is this the one way down on the Forest Road? Like down what?
By the farm.
Well, there's no farm on the Forest Road now.
The old farm way at the end, ain't there?
No, that's the other road, that's the golf road.
Arch-
This is on the Corliss Road.
Yeah.
You know where, Gary,
My mind's gone
it's
blank.
back, you know where Mark LaQual lives?
Yes.
It's right down in there. Mark LaQual's property borders it,
Okay.
and another person borders it in the front.
And it's, yeah, okay.
Our lawyer has taken a look at this already, John?
Yeah, yes.
Big print.
But she's the
Like
one
one
that's
crowd.
written that up.
Okay.
John, you have a different lawyer than the select board?
No, it's the town's attorney. But sometimes there's two attorneys in that office, and I think they have both worked on this case.
What qualifies as agricultural unit?
1,000 pounds. None of us knew that till this came up.
Well, so that's,
So she could have
4,000 pounds of animals.
so she could have 400 chickens running around?
And
410 pound chickens?
yeah. So that's,
Alright.
This case went to the Supreme Court,
to environmental court.
environmental court, and it got sent back.
Well, they send them back and forth all the time. They always want you to make mediation and some type of a settlement. This hasn't gone to trial.
Right.
If none of the parties would accept this agreement, then it would go to trial.
Have the Martins looked at this?
Yes, yeah.
How long does it take for, like, if the Martin's well is contaminated with E. coli, how long does it take, I mean, does eventually it flush itself out, or is there a way to treat it?
I think both.
There's a place in there where they're talking about treating it, so.
And then,
So it's contaminated with E. coli? Fecal E. coli, or just E. coli?
I don't,
It doesn't-
it doesn't specify.
It's from the runoff from the land next to them with
So
all
I'm
the
guessing-
animals.
Right, but there's got, fecal coli is contaminated by,
Yeah, I'm guessing that's
Animal.
it, giving the, but I don't know.
It doesn't call,
because E. coli's in everything.
Yeah, but,
It's on that table, it's on
but it's
everything.
definitely been identified as from the farm animals.
So it's been tested and it says fecal.
I don't see that, I don't see the word fecal.
no, it's just calling out E. coli.
So that could be contaminated from anything.
Coliform? Coliform?
Chloroform, yes.
Yes.
But if it tests positive for chloroform, then they test it for
E. coli, and they're tested for
fecal
both.
coli.
So you're asking for authority to sign, to
To
do
do
that
that for the town, right?
at court? Or are we gonna can this be signed away from the court?
That's what I say. It's
Yeah,
not
it can be
going to
signed.
court yet.
Well,
It
I'm
hasn't
just
gone to
saying.
court yet.
Right. She
No,
doesn't want
well, I mean, so,
I mean, it's gone to court, but this is a settlement they're proposing without a trial. If we don't accept this, or the parties won't accept this, then it will go to trial.
so I guess I'm trying to understand the nature in which why couldn't Andy sign it when it's ready? And.
Well, he could, yeah.
I mean, do you need to do it before a certain party, or can it be done, be brought here, signed and brought back?
Sign in from a Kylie and notarize or whatever it needs to be done.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the other parties to this, the Martins? And
I think they
Leopold?
have
Has
agreed.
everybody else agreed to
I
that?
think they have agreed to it today.
And the town's attorney has looked at this and
Well, yeah, she's the one that wrote this.
Yeah, their signatures are here, the Martin.
Yeah, for them to sign.
Yeah.
They had a court hearing this afternoon.
So basically, she's gonna pay us back exactly what we owe, what we paid out.
Well, we're gonna
on
have a
this.
weed basically on our
She's gonna pay,
property
right.
for the balance of the money.
Yeah.
Yes,
We're gonna
right,
get $5,000
but
and the rest of the 20 from,
the 23, yeah, will be the 18. Okay. Does she have plans on making payments towards the 18?
No, in the agreement, there was no
No.
payments will be made.
So it's just a lien, so if she ever sells it,
Yeah, and there's no lien on the property, so the town would be in first place.
I'd like to see a payment plan myself. But, I mean, it's better than nothing, right? I still would like to see, even if it was $100 a month or something like that towards the 18 to the time it was paid off, and we hold a lien on it until it's paid off.
you've seen it in Wally.
I'm still reading it, sorry.
No, that's fine. You're the, reader of the bunch.
I guess I just don't like, I guess you can't stipulate forever that she tests the water, but, I mean,
It says that she-
no, it says it down here, she shall be required, should she increase the agricultural units on the property, she's only required to test for 2 quarters to see if there's any increase in, but what if she, and if she passes those 2 quarters, then the next time she increases animals again, she's required, or is it just a one-time increased testing thing?
Well, I think if it starts affecting the Martin's property again, then she's gonna have to be testing more.
So if you test it for 2 quarters, if you time it just right, so you get your spring growth where it's gonna absorb and stuff like that.
Yep.
No, seriously, then you come fall,
Your
things
dry
start,
season, same thing.
yeah.
It's on page 2.
What if it's contaminated by wildlife? Then she's gonna get the blame for it?
Well, you'd have to have an awful lot of wildlife.
That's not true. People's water gets contaminated for deer crapping around a spring and stuff.
But this is a well, so
This is the
it's
well.
not surface water.
Now they have a pond too, right?
So if animals,
Should she increase?
But it does say at the top that she agrees for quarterly testing, but I didn't see any.
But only, I think that says she'll be required to sample and test water, again, should water indicate that, yeah, so as soon as it becomes unlevel,
Quarterly testing.
sampling is required, blah, blah, blah,
Just gonna test it until it becomes good.
until it's good for 2 consecutive quarters,
Yes.
and then she can decide if she decides to increase her units, she's only gonna pass 2 quarters. But I guess it's what was agreed upon. I mean, I would like this.
I just need to get out of this altogether. We shouldn't have taken this early.
So I guess if the Martins are happy with it, the only thing is we're not getting the immediate recovery of funds, but.
I would be more in favor of Andy signing it
Yeah.
as our select board chief. What are others thinking?
I think so. I mean, if we have a copy right here, we could sign it.
Well, is this ready to go?
I think it is, cause I think the Martins and Leah has signed it already.
Do you have a copy of the one they signed, so all the signatures are on the same copy?
Yeah, let's get that.
Can we wait and sign it until everyone else is signed?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
And then have Andy sign it.
That need to be a motion. I don't know.
Probably,
Won't hurt.
probably, yeah, just do a motion
Why not?
for the minutes on it.
I'll make a motion that Andy sign the settlement agreement with Leah Birch.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Alright.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passed.
Pending, after everybody signs it.
Right.
Okay. Discussion of town properties, have we kicked that through enough, or you wanna continue?
I think we gotta do some legwork
Okay.
before we have more discussion.
Alright, discussion of sheriff audit, so. Right now, we've got a brand new sheriff, and every time they have a new sheriff, they go through an audit of the books of the past sheriff. This summer, we had sent out an email, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, it was July 14th, we sent out an email to the sheriff basically stating that we would like to have a meeting with them to have schedules, GPS coordinates of their vehicles to prove that they were in town at that time, along with, what was that? What am I missing? Schedules, proof of the time and the hours spent in town.
Yes.
Okay, so that took place on the 14th. The 25th, the town was cut a check for $23,000 and change. I don't know the
Yep.
exact amount. 27th, the meeting took place. The 27th, they did not bring anything to the table, what we had asked for any proof. And I think they sidestepped what we were getting at. I think we need to, as a board, request, I don't know if it's Vermont State Police or the state's attorney, to look into this on our behalf to see, if we were treated fairly.
Is that how it normally goes? Like, when they do this audit, like, what is normally encountered in an audit?
I don't know the exact, I just know they're audited, I don't know if it's just books, I don't know if it's hours, or, but I think that, for the town of Richford, we wanna make sure that we got what we paid for. So,
Yeah, that would be fine. I mean, on the note of sheriffs, I think we also need to, I received a call last week, I guess, when it was slippery, and somebody's like, look, there was an accident by Pinnacle Peddler, and the sheriff was parked way up in, at the Vermont Electric, to where they store the telephone poles, and, you know, never even knew their, you know, and the person was like, they should be out and about, like, what are they hoping to catch?
Are they running for border patrol? Was
No,
that?
no, it was a Moshade sheriff. I mean, it was a Franklin County sheriff.
It was, but were they doing that position for? That's my only.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen.
Were they on those things? If we had a schedule, we would know that they weren't here for us, they were
Yeah.
here for somebody else.
Because we're still not getting schedules.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they were, I guess, yeah, that would make more sense if that was the case, but I don't know it was, and I got this call at like 8:30 in the morning after this person dropped their kid off. It was a delayed opening that day, whatever day that was.
Yes, I don't remember.
Yeah,
I remember the day, but not the
Not-
exact
yeah.
date.
And I came into town later at like 3 o'clock and I'm assuming it was the same sheriff who was tucked way up in there still. And I mean, if they're on duty, what purpose are they serving us backed up in there all day long?
The only reason I'm thinking they're doing the border patrol is because that's where the border
Border
patrol
patrol
sit all the time.
Possibly.
So,
It's the
But again-
river, like people coming through the river.
so I don't know who we need to hold of. Michael, would you be able to contact some? You know, I don't know.
Just research it.
Yeah, research it. Tim Smith maybe might have, you know, something to say, but I think we need to contact the state and ask.
Sure.
So. All right. Approval of January 16th. Select board meeting and January 16th budget meeting. Does anyone have any corrections, comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept them both.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Update from the town administrator.
Got a couple things. 2 grants that I researched and looking into. Just want to run it by the board. One is there's a highway paving grant that comes out every year by the state, and I got notified this year, last week, about it. And I helped Scott Coons apply for this last year, and ultimately would probably just want to do another application for it. I mean, help pave roads, and
Yeah.
the match is usually part of the what's already budgeted for the paving budget.
So that'd be the match part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's not like it's not additional. Just want to put that out there that if you want me to continue,
Yes,
Yes.
pursue that, to continue doing that. And then the second grant was the AFG grant for the firefighters. That was applied for last year as well. From the help of Alyssa Johnson from Vermont Rural Development. They have another round out this year. The application's actually due Friday, I believe. But since we already have an application done from last year that was not accepted, it's pretty easy just to tweak it and resubmit. So we're working on that.
And what would be what are the funds to be used for? And
So the funds last year,
Was that-
we were looking for bunker gear, I think 15 sets maybe. I don't remember the exact number. 11 SCBA packs with bottles and spare bottles, and a compressor to fill those bottles with.
that was totaling like what?
It was over 200,000, I believe. I don't remember. the
Yeah,
exact number.
no. So it's a sizable,
It's a big grant.
and the match component to that?
So I believe last year was 5% match.
Which was about $12,000 at the time, so.
Yeah.
And that was budgeted for last year. I'm not sure if that was the case this year.
That's basically my equipment fund. I think I've got 13 or 14,000 in equipment, so
I mean, if
it's
that's,
how I treat the budget throughout the year. You know, and go till September, October, and if we get nothing, that's when I'll start purchasing things.
but on that point, Alyssa and I are working on trying to figure out if we even need a match at all, because we could qualify for no match if we meet certain criteria.
Okay.
And
So, yes.
it looks pretty good so far to meet those matches.
Nice.
So,
So,
Yeah.
and we may not have to do a match.
yeah,
So,
okay.
if you want me to continue pursuing that as well,
Oh,
hopefully
yeah.
we can get one submitted by Friday.
Mhm.
I guess the two things that I would need, budget amount for motions, and then to have me be the person, the representative, pretty much, to submit it and say if we get the grant and it's administer it, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess do more.
Yeah, just a comment. I know we're applying for a lot of grants, and I think grants are good, but I mean, it's been all over the news lately. The city of Burlington had to repay $1 million grant because their paperwork wasn't up to snuff. And I know in the past, my work as town clerk dealing with these grants, some of these places are really, they're really picky about their paperwork. I would just hope that somebody's keeping an eye, that making sure that we're in compliance with all the terms and conditions of these grants. Last thing we want to do is get money for something and then turn around and repay it because we didn't administer it the way the grant said we had to. So just that comment.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we're looking for a motion, Michael, to represent.
I make a motion.
Is represent the right word?
Yeah, is it?
Administer, yeah.
Administer.
Administer.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Thanks, Michael. Do you have anything else?
Oh, yeah, one more thing. I thought I mentioned this at a prior meeting about the street light
Yes,
on River Street.
and we voted on putting it in.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember what was the outcome of that, so I just want to be sure that
Yeah.
that was okay.
We voted, I
Because
think I meant
I know
to.
we've talked about,
Somebody seconded it.
we were worried about the installation fee, but VEC confirmed with me that there's no fee
Yeah.
for installing it. It's just the electricity that
Yeah.
you're gonna have to pay for.
Yep. Okay.
Which is, if that's fine, then.
Yeah. I put it in.
Okay. Highway report.
Not much to report. We have a couple things I'd like to talk about in executive.
Okay.
The normal equipment malfunctions, had a breakdown when the cold weather hit, the chain that drives
I heard that on the scanner, actually.
that drives the sander,
Yeah.
broke because, when they drove from here to East Richford and the time it got there. Just normal wear and tear stuff that, happens. And of course, we're still, looking, to revise the parking ban ordinance. So we're gonna work on that.
Okay.
Beyond that, just normal winter stuff, still their slow time, they're doing miscellaneous projects here and there.
On that, I noticed the little structure down in the park was fixed. Did the town boys do that?
The one that your son, yes, they did that one.
Yes, I just wanna say thank you for that. Nick, I think, intended on taking care of it, but I was
Yeah,
pleased to see
It
that.
was after the windstorm, they were down there one day when I was talking to Jason.
Have they been asked about plowing our overhead doors out a little better?
No, I'll talk to Wally, that's a good one. So, okay. That's it, Wally,
Yes.
building report.
Building report, not much going on anywhere except for at the post office. The contractors are doing an amazing job in there. They are using and revitalizing any of the old woodwork that they can find, to make it look as good as it always did, which is turning out beautifully. We had a hot water tank blow in the basement, so we're gonna be replacing that. Besides that, and everything's going good.
I have a question.
Sure.
How much is it costing to remodel the post office for the credit union?
They are paying for 95% of it. We paying for the ADA compliance stuff as being part of the building. The rest of it they're paying for.
So how much?
What was the total that they were putting in?
We asked for an adjusted budget amount, but it was around 32
Our
for
part's
the porch.
32.
32,000?
Yep. And they're putting in,
Well, I don't know. I'm not
was it
sure.
100? I remember.
I
I
don't
can't
know.
remember what that first budget
I
looked
don't
like.
even know if that's something we could say because it's between Connors and
True.
North Country. It's not.
They're investing a lot. And then they also
taxpayers
have
invested
a
a lot,
4-year, they've also, a 4-year contract, or 5-year contract with 4 years of renewing. So it's a 20-year contract.
So what's the rent gonna be?
The rent is $1,750 for that one section.
So you don't think parking's gonna be an issue there?
No, not once that all
It's a
those.
15 spot parking, 6 go to the post office for employees.
Mhm.
So you're only a couple parking spots.
And more people can come in off the main street as well.
Their main door is gonna be coming through the main doors. The out back is where the ATM is, and there's no entrance into the bank from the ATM.
So the town had to buy the ATM too?
No, no, this is all owned by the bank. Everything in there, all the electrical that they're doing, if it has anything to do with what they need for equipment, they pay for all of that.
So what's gonna happen if we get a new postmaster, Tim's gonna be retiring. So what if the new postmaster says they don't want people coming through their lobby?
It's the building lobby.
Post office rents it. The post office boxes are there.
Right, they're renting that section, behind that section, and this section over here. They
There's
don't rent the
boxes
whole
over
front
here
end.
where the,
They don't rent the entrance of the main building. That's not part of their contract. It's part of their contract for them to use it and also have the side entrance.
so
which is
where part of
also-
the postal boxes are, that's not the postal spot?
Right, in the front,
So they're
The
using
back.
part of the building, it's not theirs?
they're the back part of that, Carl. The front piece is for the people of town, so they open their boxes. That's what the post office has. That front lobby is not theirs. We maintain that front lobby, we clean that front lobby, we wax the floors at that front lobby.
Well, you guys clean the building because it's your
Mhm.
building.
Yes, exactly. We clean all of the building. But what they're renting is that back parcel and where they are, that whole back section in the front, they're using it, but
I think it's a good idea, but I think it's gonna be really crowded.
I think it'll work out. I don't think it's gonna be like the day of when the furniture factory was open and people were lined up out the street to a bank. It just doesn't work that way. Most people were online.
Yeah.
And so
Most of your people are gonna go through the back, nobody's gonna walk up them stairs.
they
None of
have
the old
to
people.
go to the back and come up the ramp and come in the front door, because that's the main entrance. There's no back entrance. That's only to the ATM.
So there's no back entrance?
No, it's only to the ATM.
So that's not gonna be an issue if the new postmaster says you can't go through the lobby because it's government?
No, it's not. It's part of the building. That front lobby's not theirs. It's all
Oh, I'm just
ours.
wondering, make sure that everybody,
Yep,
because I hate to see the post office leave Richford.
they're not going to leave. They won't leave. They've been there forever. If they were even thinking about it, they would just sign a new contract.
Nobody
with us.
said they were, but if
Right.
there's an issue with the lobby, and-
Well, I mean, if the issue was, the lobby it would have been present when, I mean, it would have been just as much an issue with the flow of traffic when
And parking spaces.
the SU was there. I mean, really doesn't change.
I think they mostly used the back of the building when they were there.
They had that section there, they had.
Yeah, the downstairs.
The downstairs
plus the
was
whole
occupied
upstairs.
by them and the upstairs, so there was flow through there, they didn't have a back entrance to it.
Very, very low flow.
But, I mean, they still had upwards of 20 employees working there at any given time, flowing in and out for lunch, this, that. I
Yeah.
mean, there was traffic.
Yeah.
So, yep. I think it's gonna be good for Richford. To finally have a
too.
bank back.
But,
Okay, that's all you got, Sherry?
yes,
Okay. Water and sewer, I don't have anything to report. There was no major breaks during the big freeze, so that was a good thing.
Yes.
Alan, you have anything off water and sewer?
Yeah, it looks like Green Avenue, we're gonna have to go to the voters for approval to do the project, even though the state of Vermont says we have to. In checking with the attorney at VLCT, we still have to get voter approval for the project.
Okay.
We knew we were gonna have to get voter approval if we financed any of it.
Yep.
So initially, I was hoping to maybe get something on the ballot for this town meeting, but I'm thinking at this point, we may as well just wait till next year. Because we've got till 2024 to commit the ARPA funds, and I don't think we should use all the ARPA funds for that, but some of it I would like to use ARPA funds, or I think we should use ARPA funds to pay for to minimize what we have to borrow. And then next year, go on, get something on the ballot to approve the project and the borrowing to do it. But at some point, we're gonna have to discuss how we're gonna pay for that. Because with interest rates going up, I think we wanna try to borrow as little as we can. We're probably gonna have to borrow some, and that's $1 million project. But it would be nice if we could maybe give it some thought and maybe try to come to some kind of consensus before Kylie has to send out water and sewer bills again. Because we're probably gonna have to deal with some kind of a rate increase to pay for the financing for that. And I'm even thinking maybe if we raise the rates just a little bit now to start saving some money, to reduce what we have to borrow to do it. I don't know. We'll have to sit down at some point and try to figure out the financing for that, because we're gonna have to get something on the ballot for that. And then the only other thing was the water and sewer rules update. It looks like we gotta treat that as an ordinance, an amendment to an ordinance. So as soon as we can, like to get that going, and then have the public meeting whenever we get it done. Because we're gonna have to treat it like an ordinance, but again, any other ordinances, if we're gonna be doing the water and sewer
might
ordinance,
as well do what we need to
do, yeah.
Okay.
do
Get a few of them put together then.
Yeah, and then have that public meeting without more than one. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then the only other thing was the stuff I talked about earlier. I guess Jason went up to the water plant and hauled away some stuff that wasn't being used up there. VLCT was coming to do some kind of an inspection up there, and so we thought it'd be good to get rid of some of the stuff they weren't using.
Junk.
That was it.
Okay. Parks, playground, cemeteries report.
Yeah, so I continue to go to the rec meeting. What is it, once or twice a month?
Depends
On what's going on.
yeah,
So
how people
I did
meet.
attend this past one last Wednesday. And so some things that are coming up. So we had someone attend, I believe, is it your dad that does the fireworks? He actually came and talked about the expense of the fireworks this year, doing the fireworks on the 2 weekends in July that kind of July 1st is the first weekend and then July 7th and 8th. So the fireworks have doubled in price to like a ridiculous amount. And so they were just kind of coming and talking about like the Lions Club can't cover that cost. I mean, it would devastate them. So they were looking for the rec to contribute more if we wanted to have it on that weekend or one of those weekends. The suggestion was that we do it on an off weekend. There was a lot of feelings around doing it on and off weekends. So just wanting to kind of report that out, that there's some funding need right now if they decide to move forward with doing it on the weekend of the 1st and the 7th and 8th. The proposed was, I think, the 15th, 14th and 15th, around doing the fireworks would be the expense that we used to. So around
Right.
$6,000, right? It's
Yeah.
gonna be a lot less money to do it, the weekend of the 15th. So that's still up for debate, I guess.
I think the Lions Club, and I could be wrong, but I believe the Lions Club just, at this point, won't wash their hands of it around the 4th because of the cost.
Right.
And
They mentioned also the Harvest Festival too.
yeah, the Harvest
Being the
Festival,
time.
that was a good time, I think, for them to do that.
Right, because of the functions going on in town,
Right.
trying to draw people to town. That's
And I
also
know the
something
rec
else.
department was completely against that.
Yeah.
Like they wanted it
No.
on or about the July.
Right.
But I
To me, if you wait 2 weeks later, you miss the vote. I'm like, July 4th is July 4th. It's
Yeah.
either the weekend before the weekend after.
So I think, yeah, of course, I got ties to the fireworks part of it too. The cost has gone up.
Like
for-
a doubled in cost.
It is.
Not just like a little bit.
But there's a
It's-
lot going on that time of year, and the cost of getting supplies, the cost of getting the people, that's where it's warranted. And it's only gonna go up farther, so. The off-season, yes, you're gonna get just as good a show off-season than you would at the 4th of July, but half the cost.
So is the cost in having somebody come do it?
It's
Or
the cost of getting that stuff over from China is where they're getting it from. The shipping is,
but how does having 2 weeks later make it double? I mean, 2 weeks later,
Then
reduce it in half.
because
I mean, you still got to ship it here.
what takes place down there on the 4th of July weekend is there's 40 U-Haul trucks that are using now that are rented out, and the amount of equipment and the amount of people it takes to get everything together and to the site, etc. And other towns are paying it. I don't-
So it's more in the logistics than it is in the cost of the fireworks.
The shipping's a huge cost.
Shipping's a
Right.
huge cost.
Huge cost.
From
And
double
for
the
getting it
price.
here on that weekend.
From what I
or on
was
those
told,
two
that when they ship, they have to, how'd that work? What they used to get in a container ship before, they can only ship half of what is in that container now.
Because of liability.
It's regulations, my understanding.
Okay.
So instead of Harvest Festival, and if we can't do it the weekend before or after, why don't we do like Memorial Weekend, something like that, that's 4th of July?
Yeah, so there was just a
To
lot of
me-
feelings
And
around
you
I just
very
think
well
it should be
can, but
around
my
that.
warning to the rec board, and this is my point of view, is once the Lions clubs wash their hands of the fireworks, they're not gonna go back
Right.
into it. And
And
that's,
that's like a $6,000 contribution from the Lions Club, I believe.
well, part of it's from the town and part of it's from the Lions
Right.
club.
Yeah.
But they've been the organizers of this
Yep.
for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
So what are you asking?
So I'm just kind of putting it out there because, there's obviously, some controversy about when and how we should proceed as a community. There was a lot of feelings around, waiting, and then there were a lot of good reasons of why to wait. So I just want people to be aware, because I know last year there was a lot of commotion, a lot of phone calls that, the town received, even though it wasn't the town necessarily implementing it, was the Lions Club, but there was a lot of adversity to the town because it's a town event, even though it's not necessarily fully town sponsored, that contributed to the town office having to be involved to kind of put out some fires. So that's just on the radar of what's coming. I'm actually going to be heading up the 4th of July parade that weekend. So I'm going to be starting that committee. I'm actually meeting with Terry next Saturday. And Terry has been the one that's been doing the 4th of July parade for several years now. So I'm going to start meeting with her and just, developing a committee for the 4th of July parade. Again, kind of thinking about if there aren't fireworks on that weekend, do we still have the 4th of July parade like on that July 1st, or do we have it on the 7th? I mean, are there ways that we go about kind of coming up with a date for a parade, or is there... I mean, because I know when Michael and I were talking, there was significant worry around the road closures that didn't necessarily happen last year. Right, so I want to alleviate that this year as I move forward with planning some of that for the town. So, and I know the fire department also plays a pretty big role in helping kind of, the streets and, kind of separating the streets from...
So that's gonna be a topic at a different, but yes, the argument there is the fire department is looked on to do this. However, you have other towns' fire departments coming in to represent their fire department, and when you have no manpower to represent your own town in the parade,
Right.
that is the problem.
Right, there's feelings around that, for sure. So I'm bringing it just as a whole kind of conversation so that we alleviate some of these problems that happened last year, moving forward this year, me kind of taking on the committee chair role of that and just, wanting the town to kind of weigh in on some of those options that, we move forward with as, the 4th comes. Just again, wanted to reiterate that February 18th, we're having our first annual Winter Games up at the Country Club. And that is also a fundraising event for the rec committee. So people that are going to participate in those games, all of those donations and proceeds go to support the rec committee in hopes to raise money for things like the fireworks. Lots of activity I've noticed at the ice rink, which is amazing. The school is still working and finishing the warming shed.
It's finished.
It's finished, so awesome. So I know last Wednesday it hadn't been quite finished, but Kylie was on it, and the teacher that's overseeing the project from the school was just about ready to finish and put the icing on the cake. There's also was a request that I noticed on the rec page about a possible donation of a snowblower for the ice rink.
They were seeking it.
Yeah, they were seeking a donation. I didn't know if anything had come of that or...
Not that I know.
Okay,
Okay,
that's all I got.
do we have any other business?
I do.
I do too.
Okay.
You wanna go first?
Yeah, last meeting, Tim came and being the
Yes.
Northwest Solid Waste District representative, and we did not
We did not make a decision at that time, but he withdrew his name.
that very next day, right?
You withdrew his name already?
Like the very next morning.
Yeah.
So we need to
Fill out.
decide on a representative. So I don't know who wants to do that.
I mean, what does it involve?
I know, I'm like thinking, trying to remember what I was told.
Did you say there was quarterly meetings?
Yeah.
Every 3 months there's a
Said
meeting.
9 meetings a year.
Yeah.
What? How many?
9, I think you said.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe.
Do you know what days they're on? Does anybody know?
No.
So I'm doing TAC, which is the other one that Tim was primary on, and I was his backup. So now I've assumed that role. So
I'm just trying to think. And where are the meetings? St. Albans?
I don't know.
let me, I have no problem thinking about this, but I need to know kind of what day it's on, because I do get up at 3:30 in the morning, and it's just St. Albans, and I'm driving home at 9.
So
It's
can
not
you
a big
can you
problem.
call Northwest
Let's find out
Solid
what
Waste
it
District and just
entails.
ask, dates and.
Yep.
All right, thank you. And we'll, and if it fits with your schedule, you'll do it.
Okay,
Why not?
alright, that's all you got.
Yeah.
Sherry?
Mine is the Legion parking lot, our parking lot. Robert had approached me and asked about buying a parking spot, but he didn't wanna buy it, he wanted us to, kind of give it to him, and the reason being is because he has a parking lot down below, which we had made a comment that, the person that lives upstairs above the Legion, who cleans the Legion, she's almost been towed twice out of that parking lot, out of the municipal parking lot, and she's always been allowed to park there. And the reason being, and it's not in any minutes that anybody knows about, because it was basically, I do this for the town does this for me. So what it is the town pushes snow on his parking lot down below by the laundromat. We push snow onto the backside of his parking lot. He's allowed it for years without no problem, because we've always been okay with them parking over there. Everybody in the Legion's always used that parking lot when they go over there. That's where I park when I go to the Legion. So for any type of event or anything like that. His parking lot down below, the church uses it, the laundromat uses it, the apartments use it. He's asking for that one parking spot that he's always been given, and allowing Richford to push all the snow and get rid of it down on his parking lot into the back.
Why do we push snow on the back of his parking lot?
Alright, first I heard of it.
Yeah, apparently
Is
we've done it for
Is it
years.
snow from the road, or is it from plowing the parking lot?
No, stuff from the road. Coming
Why
down
would-
must be that hill.
But don't we also put a big pile, or we used to put a big pile down by Davis Park?
Mhm.
Why would you put it there when you could put it when?
Yeah.
Yep.
And why would we push snow from the road to the back of his parking lot?
Let me ask. I'll seek some.
Yeah, find out, but apparently this is something that has been going on for years, and it's always been that way, and he's always allowed, person's always been allowed to park over there. Personally, I don't think that's a bad thing if we allowed Robert to have 2 parking spots there, and Amanda and them to have 2 parking spots. Why wouldn't we allow, and I know it's just gonna go down the street, but hence another reason why we shouldn't have towing out of a municipal parking lot, where we're gonna have a parking ride down the other end up by the school. Why don't we
That
just-
parking lot's full of snow too.
Mhm.
And 2 trailers have been parked there for a long time, they should
Exactly.
be towed right out of there.
They should be, but that's a parking ride, that's not municipal parking.
That's
It's supposed to be a
municipal
parking
parking
ride.
right now.
Is there a sign down there for towing?
Which one?
The one down behind the Scots. Not Scots parking lot,
High school one?
yes.
You'd think you would have had this all under control when you did the towing.
I don't think I don't know.
I don't think there is, cause it's turning into a parking ride, we got a grant for that, or
Right,
working
well,
on
we
a grant
haven't,
for that.
we haven't gotten any agreement yet for it.
Right, we're working on the grant for that to be a parking ride.
I think that's gonna be a mistake putting out a parking ride. Cause you have the water coming down through there from all those catch basins up by the train station and stuff. If you need to put a sediment pond in there, you can't, cause you're gonna park and ride there. I don't think that's a very thought out.
That's been a parking lot since I can remember.
It has been, but eventually someday you may have to put a retention pond for all those things that drain into the river right there.
So, if we are putting snow on the Legion's parking lot, I honestly, my point of view is if we're doing that we should accommodate.
I'm agreeing with that.
We'll find out from
Yeah.
Jason and go from there, so.
Yep.
Alright, so that's last business.
That was my last business.
Okay. Alright, so we're gonna have a motion to go in executive session. Executive session to discuss personnel, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I get a motion, and will be no vote coming out. Okay,
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
okay.
Oh, I'll second
All
it.
those in
Sorry,
favor?
I'll skip my
Aye.
name. Aye. Aye.
Alright.
Thank you guys for coming.